Okay, so let's talk about 3D printing. Remember the hype? I mean, it was going to be this mini factory on every single desk, right? Completely changing how we make, well, everything. But for most of us, that just never happened. So what went wrong? And more importantly, what is this kind of invisible revolution that's happening right now that's actually making good on that promise?
This was the dream, wasn't it? The idea that that little Made in China sticker would be replaced by printed in my living room. You just download a file for a spare part, maybe a new pair of shoes, whatever, and boom, you just create it out of thin air. That was the vision they sold us.
But yeah, that's not exactly what went down. So first, let's get into the initial hype, and then talk about why, for so many people, the reality just felt like a massive flop. And this slide just says it all, doesn't it? We were promised something like a Star Trek replicator, this magical box that could create anything instantly. What we actually got were machines that were really, really good at making little plastic trinkets. I mean, they were fun for sure, but hardly the third industrial revolution we were all told was coming. You see, anyone who jumped in early pretty much hit a brick wall. The machines themselves were super finicky, they were expensive, you needed to learn complex design software, and the failures, you'd get this tangled mess of plastic spaghetti. And on top of all that, you had slow print times, the materials were brittle, and you even had to worry about toxic fumes. The whole plug-and-play idea was, pretty much a myth. So here's where the story gets really interesting. While the consumer world was getting frustrated and kind of losing interest, the industrial world, well, they went quiet and got very, very serious. And it all started with a simple name change. This is the real pivot point, from a hobbyist dream to an engineer's revolution. We all know the term 3D printing, right? It's the one that carries all that baggage we just talked about. The hype, the little plastic toys, the disappointment. It's the consumer idea that, for all intents and purposes, seemed to fail. But in the professional world, they started calling it additive manufacturing. And look, this isn't just about using a fancier name. It signals a complete shift in focus. We're talking away from hobbyists and towards serious industrial use, away from flimsy plastics and toward advanced metals and polymers. And, most importantly, away from making trinkets and toward creating parts that were literally impossible to make before. And that shift right there is everything. It's where the technology stopped trying to replace things we could already make, and it started creating things we couldn't even have imagined building just a few years ago. Now, this number, 80%, what is that? Well, this year, the U.S. Department of Defense increased its budget for additive manufacturing by over 80%. Now, that is not a small tweak. That is a massive strategic investment, and it really makes you ask, why? It's because the goalposts completely moved. The industrial world figured out that the real power of this tech wasn't in making cheap plastic things even cheaper. No, its true power was in creating incredibly complex, high-value parts with shapes and internal structures that traditional manufacturing, like casting or milling, simply can't produce. And we're talking about the heavy hitters here. NASA is printing these unbelievably intricate components for rocket engines. Companies like Boeing and Lockheed are printing single-piece aircraft brackets that are way stronger and lighter than anything they could make before. They're not printing toys, they are printing the future of aerospace. Okay, so beyond making these impossible parts, this technology is also quietly solving one of the world's biggest headaches, our super fragile supply chains. And it's happening behind the scenes in a way most of us will never even see. Think about it like this. In the old world, if a critical part on a 40-year-old machine broke, you basically had to pray that the physical mold from the 1980s still existed in a factory somewhere, thousands of miles away. In the new world, you don't store the physical part, you store the digital file. This whole concept is called the digital warehouse. And the process is it's so simple, it's brilliant. A part breaks, you pull up its digital blueprint from a secure server, and you print a perfect replacement, on demand, right where you need it, when you need it. This makes our entire supply chain faster, way more resilient, and a whole lot less dependent on geography. So the whole paradigm has shifted. I mean, we've moved away from that 20th century ideal of mass production, making millions of identical things, to the 21st century reality of mass customization, where every single item can be perfectly tailored for a specific need. And nowhere is this more obvious than in healthcare. And this is where the technology might have already touched your life without you even knowing it. You know those clear dental aligners that so many people use? Every single one is a custom 3D printed device.
Or how about a custom-fit hip implant that perfectly matches a patient's unique anatomy? Yep, that's additive manufacturing. It's already here, making our lives better.
So if that's what's happening right now, where is all this going? The truth is, this revolution is really just getting warmed up, and the next steps are even more incredible. You're going to want to keep an eye on something called hybrid manufacturing. It's basically the best of both worlds. A machine will 3D print a complex metal part to its rough shape, and then in the same machine, a robotic milling arm comes in and machines it down to a perfectly smooth, precise finish. It's speed and complexity combined with absolute precision all in one go. And beyond that, well, the true frontier is bioprinting. And look, this isn't science fiction anymore. We are already seeing successful trials of 3D printed tissues, like tendons and ligaments, being implanted into people. The same tech that started out making plastic toys is now on the verge of printing living tissue. So you see, 3D printing didn't die. It just grew up and got a very serious job. The factory on your desk, that was a fun dream, but maybe, just maybe, we were dreaming too small. What if the real revolution wasn't about printing a new phone case, but about one day printing a new heart? Now that's something to think about.
Found this useful? Let me know by dropping a comment and hitting the like button. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our next deep dive.